The Thylacine, or more commonly known as the Tasmanian tiger, was a dog-sized marsupial that inhabited Australia and went extinct on the mainland around 2,000 years ago, with a small population residing in Tasmania until around 1936 when they were officially declared extinct. At first glance, one may see the Thylacine as nothing more than a dog with a pouch, for lack of a better term. But in reality, the similarities don't go much beyond superficial resemblance. For example, the Thylacine's front limbs were more cat-like, which would have made this creature better equipped for ambushing, rather than long-distance chasing like dogs. It could open its jaws at up to 90 degrees wide. Whilst this is impressive, it does mean it likely had a relatively weak bite in comparison to canines or big cats. In order for the jaw to open as wide as it does, the bone structure has to be less dense to accommodate the more strenuous feat. It likely hunted smaller animals such as wallabies, rodents and birds, and the young of larger animals if the opportunity presented itself, and it was largely a nocturnal and solitary animal. The Thylacine lineage had numerous species ranging from the size of a cat to a medium-sized dog. Their lineage sprang into development around 30 million years ago, but by 8 million years ago, only one species remained and survived on the Australian mainland up until its extinction about 2,000 years ago. There are a couple of theories that have been proposed for its extinction on the mainland. One theory suggests that it went extinct through overhunting by Indigenous Australians, whom the Thylacine would have been competing with for certain resources, and thus would have been perceived as a pest by these tribes. The other theory suggests that it was the introduction of the dingo by Dravidian sailors from southern India 4,000 years ago. These Dravidians had traded with the Indigenous Australians, and some of them eventually settled in northern Australia, contributing their genes to the populations already living there. Dingoes are a subspecies of the wolf, and like the wolf, they are pack hunters, which will give them an edge over similar-sized solitary hunters like the Thylacine, allowing them to push Thylacines out of their respective niche. This, in tandem with the first theory, is likely what drove the Thylacine to extinction on the mainland, leaving the last surviving Thylacines on the island of Tasmania. So why did the Thylacine survive in Tasmania for as long as it did, whilst the mainland population died off? Due to being an island separate from the mainland, the dingo populations were never able to reach Tasmania. Tasmania itself became an island roughly 12,000 years ago, due to rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age, leaving any and all organisms, including humans, isolated from the mainland, and this allowed Thylacines to continue surviving. In the year 1803, the first British settlers arrived on Tasmanian shores. With the settlers came new species introduced from Europe, including new types of prey animals such as rats which stowed away on ships, livestock such as sheep, cows and chickens, rabbits and foxes which were hunted for sports, and domestic dogs and cats, some of which would establish their own wild populations on the island. All of this would pose serious problems for the Thylacine species. Whilst its menu expanded with the arrival of rabbits, rats and small livestock, it would also face competition from foxes, which occupy a very similar niche in their original native habitats. With the establishment of feral dog populations, the Thylacine once again found itself being outcompeted by a pack-hunting canid, as it did on the mainland over 2,000 years earlier. Its relationship with the settlers wasn't very good either, often being blamed for attacks on livestock that were in fact perpetuated by feral dogs. Eventually all of this would result in its extinction, with the last Thylacine dying in captivity in 1936. But although having been declared extinct, alleged eyewitness accounts have persisted on both Tasmania and the Australian mainland, along with alleged photos and footage of this creature. For the next video in this series, we will be looking at alleged eyewitness accounts and forensic evidence, and I'll give my opinion on what people are actually seeing out there. This is All Things Past and Paranormal. Thank you for watching and have an awesome rest of your day.